All right, we're started. We're streaming. We're streaming and we're steaming.
We're definitely steaming.
We are steaming. This was this had a, this was a check the boxes sort of win, it looked like, for, almost 3 quarters.
24 points. 24-point lead there.
Into just, I don't know, is it a loss of the year?
Yeah, that's got to be the worst.
Well, loss of the year, I give it last. So every Sunday, what's up with the Sunday game?
I know.
Last Sunday was their worst loss of the year.
We can definitely say the Wizards. The Wizards was a lower point for sure, just in terms of like.
But this was bad.
This
was bad for all the reasons that they're known to be bad, like giving up those big leads, not having a closer. Although Jayson Tatum did have a couple big shots, but man, this was bad.
We've talked.
Kemba Walker, one game after my apology tour.
I know, Jimmy. This is the unapology game.
one game, the next game after the apology tour, and this is the performance he gives us from 3-point territory and the likes. That was tough.
It's awful. Well, let's start with the individual performances. We'll get in, and again,
we'll get there. Yeah,
Kemba again. It's not a bone to pick with Kemba. You're going to have bad shooting games. It's everyone who frigging after a couple of good games was like, see, it's still a process, okay? He's had way too many of these games, not enough of the games that he had over the last couple, though he's trending in the right direction. So we'll throw this one away. Right. But can everybody stop just pointing a finger on we figured it out and he's this guy after every single game? We don't need to overreact, okay? The whole point of us bringing up issues with Kemba is fear. You're afraid that because of knees, he could go in a bad direction and might not regain anything, and you're happy to see when he doesn't. But everybody stop declaring victory after every game, okay? It's getting tiring on both sides of the aisle. Bobby, just break it for real. Seriously. It's okay to be concerned. It doesn't mean we hate Kemba.
We've been doing it's been a month now of this kind of activity on this show, the phenomenal win and then the grueling loss.
Overreacting both sides. But just go through why did they lose this lead? And again, it's easy to point out making shots, not making shots. I don't know that the Pelicans turned up the defensive intensity per se. It feels like the Celtics started settling for crap shots. And obviously when you have 2 of your 3 best players ice cold all game, you can't generate enough offensive momentum there, and they stagnated in the second half. I don't know how much of it I'm giving credit to the Pelicans for, but Bobby, what do you think?
Oh my God.
Well, if there's one guy that does deserve credit there, it was Josh Hart.
I don't want to hear about Josh Hart anymore.
I've never seen him play like that.
Josh Hart News Network today? The Josh Hart News Network. I don't want to hear anymore.
The amount of
incredible defense
on this broadcast. Oh my
Anyone wants to talk about Josh Hart? Just hit the rewind
hate
button.
national broadcasts.
DVR. Hit the rewind
So it all
button
funneled from that though, because they were able to get Jayson Tatum off the ball or turning it over or just completely blowing up the possessions that he was on off that on-ball defense. Pelicans were throwing some full court on the point guards. They were just so aggressive in this game.
Tatum had 1 turnover.
Yeah, but the offense
Josh
as a whole
Hart
had a bunch in the second half.
Josh Hart was halfway out the tunnel on Tatum's game-tying shot. On his
that was a ridiculously hard shot, though, and he forced him left.
The floater was hard. The jumper was...
All right, whatever. That's my explanation. Let me hear yours.
No. But I don't want to give it all to Josh Hart here, but what else do you think happened there?
No, it was stagnation for sure, jump shots, that kind of stuff we've seen from the team this year. What concerns me, though, is that's been a constant in the fourth quarter this year. And now we've seen this team dip to the bottom 5 in net rating in the fourth quarter. So you can essentially say off that they're not a very good team. You can't be a -6 in the fourth quarter and be a good team. And now we have almost half a season of that being the sample size, this being rock bottom. That's going to push that to the next level. So it is stagnancy. It is funneling away from the things and movement that they do earlier in the game. We obviously saw a difference in personnel in the fourth quarter here, getting away from Thompson, moving toward Aaron Nesmith and Rob and that kind of stuff. And it worked sparingly, but defensively, this team was a mess down the stretch too. So it's stuff we've talked about for weeks now. They're stagnant on offense. They're penetrable on defense. And on both sides of the floor in that fourth quarter, they get torched a little bit. The pressure on the ball hurt them offensively, and the interior woes hurt them defensively. And Rob, I'm glad they stuck with him there. Nesmith was a good gamble as a defender, as an activity guy late into this game. but it didn't work. And the pressure just ramped up so much on them in both ends of the floor. And against this team, that's wildly concerning because this isn't a good one.
It's not a good team. But again, the positive outweighs the
Fun
negative.
team.
The positive outweighs the
fun
negative.
and bad go together.
Yeah, the positive outweighs the negative with the Aaron Nesmith experience here, because again, it is giving you, again, this was a good game from him, and you still got the energy, and you started to see him. He looked more comfortable game offensively had in the others, and it's not just based off the results. He didn't look as frightened with the ball. He was moving. He took it to the basket a couple of times. He was more decisive today. Those are the gains you're going to see when you're playing him more minutes. Obviously, defensively, again, when they were blowing that lead and he was out on the court, I mean, I'm not putting that all on him, but I don't know that you're any better out there with Shemi out there. So I'm not going to say, even if they lost a little bit with Nesmith on the court, it's a worthy gamble. The Rob Williams thing is I'm gonna lose my freaking mind over this Rob Williams thing. I'm completely at a loss. I don't know what it is we're missing that we think he's not doing that gets him 16 regulation minutes. And the second he comes in, it's block shot, altered shot, block that should have been called, that was called the goaltending, then that shouldn't have been. Wins 2 jump balls in overtime, even though the Celtics didn't get possession from another. First play that he's in, a backdoor lob. I mean, what is it that he's, and one-on-one defense on Zion. I mean, the parallel. You put these two plays side to side. Zion Williamson literally going straight through Tristan Thompson, putting him on his ass, and we never saw Tristan again the rest of the game to score that bucket, versus when he tries to do the same thing to Rob Williams, and Rob blocks him twice on one play. And still 16 minutes in regulation. Then something obviously clicked because he played in the entire overtime. I'm still confused. What is it that we're missing that's limiting his minutes?
We're not missing anything. I think Brad's missing something. I'll say it. I think we should be coaching, not Brad. No, obviously, I don't think that's true. But
what is stopping this from 30 minutes, Jimmy? I'm at a loss.
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm screaming at the TV too. I mean, when Rob goes up and blocks that Zion shot at the rim, I'm like, we could have been watching that maybe 6 more times this game if he was actually on the court. I mean, clearly Thompson was being bullied at points by Zion. I mean, Zion's a bully, let's be honest.
Well, his first half was really good on Zion, so that's part of the thinking.
It was fine, yeah. But Zion's, he's a freak. He's an absolute beast. What is he, 285, and just like a physical force out there. It's tough for anyone to cleanly defend him. But I thought Rob did as good as anyone could. I mean, he's big in his own right, and he's a shot blocker, and he can get in there and get in guys' faces.
And I mean,
on the other end, the guy leaves his feet, it's 2 points, at the rim. I mean, you think that, just throw the ball up to Rob and good things might actually happen on offense for you. So I don't understand it. I don't know if he's overthinking it or if he's really trying to get Tyson Thompson going because he knows that maybe he's going to need them down the stretch here or in the playoffs. I don't know what it is. 21 minutes for Rob, but like you said, it was only 16 in regulation, which is just slightly above his average for the entire season. I don't know. I don't get it. When you look at the PER, not to bring it up again, he's right up there with the best of them, but his minutes are half of what everybody else is around him.
Yeah, there's no good argument against you guys for this one. He was outstanding. Like he just was a game changer every time he went in there. And the rebounding's a real impact. He's as good, if not better, than Thompson on the offensive end in that regard, especially because the ball moves out of his offensive rebounds on that side, or it's a putback, which we know Thompson hasn't been great at this year on that side of the ball. So that's really the only thing we're talking about when it comes to the bigs now. Is it going to be Thompson or is it going to be Rob? And that's where the minutes have to somehow deviate. Do you go away from Thompson at some point, which I don't think there was a strong case for in this one with how good Thompson was in that first half, and it diminished into the fourth. But we've also asked for more Thompson minutes in crunch time at different points throughout this year, at least over Tice, who had a rough fourth quarter after picking up that ankle injury there. So I think the second guess here, to give you guys credit, is not having Rob out there for the final minute or two. When Zion got that huge and one through Thompson.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Young
on the
legs.
final play.
And we're lucky
who's more
tonight.
equipped? Who's more equipped to guard Zion right now in their careers, Rob or Tristan Thompson? I mean, come on.
Well, you would have thought Thompson for the beef alone, and he just got trucked,
At that point
Holy
in the
wow.
game, though, I mean, yeah,
Well,
we
it's
kind of had an
amazing.
idea.
Zion went in the halftime, 1 of 5, 4 points. It was just a no-show. Thompson had that great block from behind on him. They were packing the lane, and then he just came back, head down, powering through everybody. So it's not like we don't even know if Rob physically could play the final 18 to 21 minutes of this game, as you guys probably would have wanted him to. Who knows? I mean, again, we don't know.
Because we don't. Why couldn't he play? What have you seen out there that would make you think, oh, he's laboring right now? He's physically unable to play more minutes.
Might just be a management thing. Like, there's really no other way around it. Either that or it's trying to get minutes to everybody, which makes some sense too.
We would know if it was a management thing. Brad, I imagine, would have said it's a minutes management thing. I mean, why you can tell us when Kemba
No,
Walker.
I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know.
But
I think the point Bobby made earlier, overthinking it. Like, and this is what we've been saying all along. Like, it's not just the most perplexing thing with Rob. It's been driving me nuts all year. Is not just the metrics, which Jimmy pointed out. Which again, his advanced metrics are through the roof. Okay, through the roof. It's the eye test. You can't stop talking about him. Every single thing that he does. If you didn't know anything about basketball and you watched, you would say that guy's really impressive.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Right. It's like, I mean, on the broadcast, they're like, wow, because they don't see him every single day. It's just he's caught. And again, the same point I make over and over again. It's not some good and some bad. It's good that he's literally one of the few human beings on the planet that can do the things he does. Certainly the only guy on the roster who can make the positive plays that he makes on a regular basis. When Thompson has a good game, I would argue that a lot of the plays he makes, anybody in that situation at a replacement level would make roughly the same play. Okay. Rob makes plays that very few people can make, and he does it all the time. And that's the difference. It's not just good and bad. It's special. The plays he makes are special.
Like the alley-oop, he was
yes.
practically
Nobody
over the
can
backboard.
do what he does. Almost anybody can do what Tristan Thompson does. Like, he is basically a replacement level big. He is. It's not a knock. He's a replacement level big. When he does well, anyone else in his position in that time, in that situation, would probably do about the same. So
we're missing something, though, right?
Yeah.
There has to be something more to
That's
it,
my
because
point. I'm not arguing against Rob. There's something else at play here that's clearly limiting him. Maybe it's conditioning. I saw that after that big stretch he had on Friday, he asked out of the game. Maybe he can't get up to 30, 35 minutes. And he's only played, what was the most he's played this year? 24, I think, against Memphis in that blowout win. So something is like holding him between that. I don't know if it's the players in front of him, as you guys seem to think. Could be health, could be conditioning. But in a game like this, it is pretty jarring to see 39 for Tice, 30 for Thompson, and 21 for Rob, given how those three players played through the stretch of this game. Now, he did get the whole overtime period, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, if he didn't play in overtime, I think we would have been sitting here with a much stronger case against Brad. And he played great in overtime, and it still wasn't enough.
Well, he did play great, but certainly it wasn't his fault. You have Kemba Walker missing another 6 threes in over, or whatever it was. I mean, we're not blaming Rob for Rob was the best player on the Celtics by far in overtime. So certainly it wasn't his minutes that hurt them. Actually, him playing was like a huge Brad mea culpa, I think, which he's like, I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. Like, this was a mistake not having him out there.
Yeah. I'm only confused why he was in on the last play, unless they were thinking maybe he could get the ball at the rim and draw a foul or something. But I mean, really not the guy you want in there for you had Tice. You needed 3 points. We haven't even gotten into what the hell was going through Jayson Tatum's mind at the free throw line. I mean, come on. I know we're jumping around here, but
we are. It's fair to jump around.
We should talk about like the end of the actual game, I think, before we.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, I think a few things were screwed up there. I think I don't know about some of the. I mean, first of all, the freaking refs and the constant challenges.
58. Who is that? Who is 58? Who is that bum? Get him off the court. He needs to do way, 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 way less.
Tommy, may he rest in peace. Would have died today. Okay,
absolutely.
He would not
have inbounds play. The inbounds play where they got it in.
How many of these are we gonna get in one game?
Yeah. All of it. The double lane violation jump ball, which was inconsequential. Who
booting
does
out
that?
Redick for that?
Booting out Redick for nothing? This was
I can't believe the lane violation too. That could have been the potential game winner for New Orleans, and they still got the 3 after. But that could have sent the Pelicans into a frenzy.
That lane violation. Watch free throws every single time. It's
not
like
only that. Tice was actually standing.
If it's a double, doesn't it just cancel out?
Yeah, that's what I was
Let
surprising.
it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought the shooter shoots again. I had no idea that was a jump ball, but there was a few things late, for sure. But I mean, go ahead, Jimmy.
There's also a problem with that. I don't know if it's an NBA rule issue or what the issue is, but there's no way that should have been a jump ball when Kemba Walker had the ball and he threw it to Jaylen Brown, and they called a foul that wasn't a foul. The Celtics had to jump ball it at the end there. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a screwed up rule because the ball was in the air when the whistle was blown for a foul that wasn't actually a foul. The Celtics lose. They ended up winning the jump ball, but they still lost possession of it because of an official's error.
Yeah, that was the screen there. That was silly.
Yeah, which was a ridiculous call. It was absolutely.
I also don't understand how, because the ball was in the air, you blew the whistle. At that point, what Kemba did after the whistle, passing the ball, is inconsequential. It doesn't matter. That should be Celtics ball. That was a stupid call.
Like, so stupid.
My God, it's like I so much of this was dumb. And then somebody pointed out, I think Rob's goaltend was not a goaltend. He picked that thing clean. I mean, he almost got it right on the glass, but it wasn't off the glass.
I hated that play too. The almost block on Zion among all the others that he had. Yeah.
That one was whatever. Tatum, we were about to get frustrated with his shot selection in the second half. And then obviously he hits those two ones late there, which was good. On Josh, how did he ever get those shots off on all defensive player Josh Hart?
I mean, Hart had 3 blocks, a steal, 10 rebounds. I know they went a little crazy about him on the broadcast, but that was the best I've ever seen him play. That was crazy. And he gives up inches on Tatum. I don't know how he had that performance. So maybe it is just on Tatum.
I just think Tatum was making it. Tatum made it a little easy on him by just too many contested twos. Before those last 2 shots.
I hate this offense.
I hate this offense. Ugh.
Yep.
Jaylen again. This was our worst nightmare, wasn't it? With Jaylen, it was, and I'm not going to say fool's gold, but that the unsustainability of his early season shooting has come back to rear its head in full. Where again, there's a reason why the percentages are what they are. The worst shot in basketball is the shot that these guys like taking the most, and they take it more than anybody. And we are, Celtics are the least efficient team when it comes to this, near the bottom of the pack and points in the paint and at the rim and 3-pointers. They just live in this mid-range zone. And Jaylen again, after shooting 60-something% in the first month and a half of the season has completely cooled off and had another horrible shooting game tonight.
And that's another argument for Rob in turn. Like, that's a spot where he backline can pull those guys back and allow Tatum and Brown to get just a little bit closer there to where you're not selling out up high against Thompson or Tice. Tice is out at the 3-point line a lot. Thompson's not always an outlet for a pass underneath. He's a tough target to hit with how his hands have been this year, and you can catch up to him once he possesses it because he keeps it so low. So right now, your argument is great, guys, because they don't have many other outlets for offense outside of jump shooting. Tatum and Brown on the ball, putting their head down. The criticism we talked about on Friday of their approach offensively is kind of out of necessity, as we've seen. Brown peppered it around a little bit in that first quarter, but mostly those guys just need to, put their head down, get to the rim, pull up a ton. That's where all this offense is coming from because they don't have secondary ball handlers. They're missing Peyton Pritchard right now as he just goes into a tailspin into this last month or so.
He was fine. He just didn't do much today.
His creation on the ball isn't as good this last month or so since he's returned. You're just not seeing him, command a good pick and roll, get deep into the basket area like he did early in the season. So the outlets for creation on offense are just Tatum and Brown at this point. You don't want Kemba on there as much because it just jumps shot city, and that hasn't been strong this year. So this goes back to the roster deficiencies. This team just isn't very good.
Well, I mean, if I swear I was following Celtics Twitter after that win over Atlanta, and I was told that we were wrong to say all of these things about the team being inconsistent and that everything was fine. And they're really good when they get their starters back.
Yeah, wow, how
were
crazy.
Were they wrong?
I guess.
I mean, come on.
So.
This is, again, no one – why can't we look at it for what it is? If you're a 500 team, you've got a lot of problems, okay? That's what it is. Why does every one good game that's played have to be a decisive victory for why these guys are right and anybody is wrong to criticize them? It drives me insane. Like, this team deserves to be criticized. They're a 500 team right now, and this is a horrible loss here. And again, it's just going to pile on. And what's going to happen? They're going to come out the next game, play a complete game, get 30 assists, and spread the ball around and get contributions from everybody. And Tice is going to, be awesome, and Kemba's going to score 24 points. It's going to be like, see, they're great. But again, it's not sustainable.
And we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to do this all season into
all
the playoffs.
season.
And when they get eliminated in the second round, everyone will be like, well, this isn't a surprise. They've been inconsistent all year, and we all knew this was going to happen, and it happens every season. It really, really does.
But this one's extremely frustrating because, again,
I'm looking back on Friday, and that was another 40% three-point shooting night. Joe Sway's talked about this. When those shots fall, they look a little bit better. There's more balance, but there are things in that game.
That's what you tease me about it when I say the miss league stuff. But I mean, how much of that comes down to it? They made their shots, and again tonight, 39 or today, 40% from the field, 27 from three. They shoot. That's it. That's the ball game. You've got Kemba going 1 from friggin' 12. Kemba and Jaylen combined go 4 of 22 from three. When that happens, you're not winning these games.
I don't remember the exact stat on the broadcast, but they said something about the Celtics' last 9 wins have come when they've hit 12 3-pointers or more. If they don't hit 12 or more 3-pointers, they haven't won in,
they go into these massive droughts too. In this third quarter, they had another 4-minute one. We talked about that on Friday. The 3-4-minute droughts that appear every single game.
Yep.
So that's another product of a jump shooting team. You don't want to be completely reliant on that. And we know they don't have cutting outlets. They don't have secondary ball handlers like they've had in the past. That's what you miss both those things from Marcus Smart, frankly. And that's still the thing that looms over them is that missing piece right now. It feels like he's never going to come back with how long it's been at this point. It's only going to continue so they have to see what they look like when he gets back. But I go back to, you don't want to say, oh, this is what we can be at our healthiest, because you're almost certainly not going to be healthy come playoff time.
But we knew that, though. I mean, we knew how thin this was.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted me before Josh Hart had his, best game of his career, and said, is Josh Hart, an option or somebody on the radar? 501 Rocket on Twitter tweeted me. So shout out to that guy. Did you think he's somebody? Because the Pelicans have been in and out of, trade rumors, obviously.
He's a free agent to be, I think.
Right.
He's
still on his rookie deal.
Yeah, you bring in that guy who played well against you, and he's total ass when he gets here.
Well, but you're not bringing him in just for today. He's a guy who can defend multiple positions, obviously, and I don't know. He's got a shot. He's got a bit of a shot to him. I don't know. Again,
by the way, that's who Scal was. By the way, Jimmy, when you were like you forgot about Scal on the Nets, that's what Scal was. Scal played well for the Nets against the Celtics and convinced.
Is that what it was?
Like, wow, look at this guy. He's pretty good. And he'd hit corner threes. And they were like, we need to get ourselves some of that Scal. And then he showed up and he was Scal.
That's
John,
something
correct me if I'm wrong. And I would love to get into this more someday, but wasn't Scal like Danny Ainge? When Danny Ainge was into this thing called brain typing, I'm sure you've heard of it or have seen it. And I think Scal knocked it out was like a perfect match for brain typing, or was one of the reasons why
you can see that now.
Something to do with brain typing. So I'd like to look into that more. I don't know if Ainge is still uses that when he's thinking about bringing on players or what, but I just remember that being something that I read about long time ago. We're going on before.
He loved himself some Scalabrine. When they brought him here, they didn't bring him in to be a towel waver. They thought he was like a missing piece player. People remember him for.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, this is before KG. I mean, that was a big signing for them.
Yeah.
Celtics history. I didn't know about the whole Jaylen thing today. That blew my mind that Jaylen wasn't a name before Jalen Rose, and now Jalen Suggs, Jaylen Brown, Jaylen whoever. Like and I know a ton of Jaylen's like personally too. And I just never imagined that was a thing. That before Jaylen Rose, there was never a Jaylen in human history. I thought that was just like Rose waving a flag on the broadcast, like, oh, I inspired these guys.
I want to check sources on that, but
yeah,
no, I looked at
that seems
Wikipedia.
kinda
It's
wild.
true.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's on Wikipedia, then yeah, definitely.
Huh, interesting.
Nobody
I
can
couldn't
just
believe
edit
that. So his dad was James, I guess, and like his uncle was Leonard. So they combined James and Leonard into Jaylen, and then that completely blew my mind. But anyway, this team.
Yeah. Anyways, back to reality.
It's tough to gauge who they are. The more positive, explosive side, or these like depth, awful looking losses, because there is no middle ground with them really.
Easier. I think it's becoming easier to figure out who they are.
Yeah, because of the more losses within the last month and a half.
The thing Jimmy mentioned earlier is the thing that worries me the most, and it always kind of has, is even at their best, it seems like something that isn't. I guess ultimately it would all feel different if they were winning games with defense, which they're not. They're winning games when shots go down, and that's
the defense was pretty good on Friday. I mean, that powered a lot of the offensive outlets.
But when this team has this team, for the last couple of years it was successful. Again, it's always relied a little bit too much on the jump shot, but the hallmark was the defense, and you could kind of live with that, and know that when you'd go cold, that would be bad offensively, but you could always stay in a game with your defense. But because this team's defense has been so inconsistent, now it makes the offensive issues so much more glaring. When Bobby, you're always saying like, oh, that the offense has been fine. I disagree. I think they need more. I think defense is a matter of flipping a switch for the most part. And offense is something where they need more playmakers and more spacing and just more things that they don't have right now to be able to run a more efficient offense than what they're doing, because they're so reliant on low percentage shots. And it's really hard to watch when it goes cold like it did in the second half here.
Yeah, they looked way too easy to defend. You think of the personnel that New Orleans has, beyond the fact that they were 29th coming in defense. This was supposed to be an easy game to score, and it was for a half. But then, again, you guys laughed at Hart, and it is worth laughing at a little bit almost, because he's not that guy to just go out there and completely slow down Tatum and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Lonzo Ball. And Bledsoe, I know, is an okay defender, but it's just it's not like Steven Adams was even out there holding down.
That's the thing is, imagine what we'd be saying if they had one of those, getting eaten alive by a real big, they struggle against guys like that. This would have been a real rough one. They actually had it, and I think their path was a lot easier without Adams in this game tonight, and they didn't take advantage.
Yeah, you don't know what to say. I guess we just keep throwing up TP names. Add Hart to the list.
Well, I mean, Hart, I swear, I'm convinced, like Jimmy, I'm convinced if they didn't mention his name on the broadcast as much as they did, we wouldn't be talking about him now. They planted him into our brain.
Can we talk about Thompson?
He's always just been a name to me. I've never seen anybody, hype him the way he was hyped today. But I mean, Bobby did a good job of, I guess, summing up his contributions today. He did make it difficult for Tatum.
He just played his ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, he was up on him at half court every time.
Honestly, John, what I saw from Hart, even though I don't want to talk about him, played harder than half the games I've watched the Celtics play this year. So if that's the type of guy they need to bring in to maybe set an example or set the tone here, then that's the type of guy they need to bring in.
Bobby, I do want to say about Thompson.
I want to get to Thompson in a minute, but that's a great point, Jimmy. The urgency of this team, the pace is way down this year.
None.
They don't have pace.
No pace. Yeah.
Friday, and I don't want to point to Friday as like, oh, they figured it out and that kind of thing, as you mentioned, John, but they had a pace. They had a transition game. They had the defensive stop and rotations that they needed, probably because of the fact that they lost so badly on Wednesday to the same team.
Yeah.
That helped them meet their potential. And you saw that potential of a team that could get out on the break, be more active around the rim. I thought they had a much better game protecting the rim. And that did spill over a little bit into this first half. I mean, they didn't give up an offensive rebound for a quarter and a half. They were completely locked down on Zion. The paint was packed. They were protecting the rim. And then at some point, something just flips off, and it's jump shot city. And you're right, Jimmy. This does just appear to be a mental consistency focus kind of thing, beyond the personnel issues that we have. And that's what only, exacerbates those kind of things when you have a personnel issue and then a mental issue on top of it. And you know what? For the people who have blasted Stevens, that does go back a little bit to the coaching.
Well, that's why, again, I think people are going to, every time you blow a lead, again, it's going to be the coach that draws the heat. And if you look in our chat, today, that's clearly what's happening right now is
Kemba's getting traded again.
Yeah. Right.
It's fair though. It's fair. 24 points with what was there, like 6 minutes left in the third?
Can't allow it.
That's hard to do.
That's as bad as we've seen in recent years.
We're not talking about the Lakers here. Yeah, we're not talking about the Lakers or the Clippers here. We're talking about an average Pelicans team that lost one of their shooters, by the way, in Redick. He wasn't even part of half that comeback. So, really, it is unexcusable, and it unfortunately isn't the first time or the second time or the third time. We've seen these guys going back to last season. They've had so many issues in the fourth quarter, so many issues. It's old hat. It's expected. I honestly wonder if these players think it's like almost something that they're worried about. Here we go again. Another fourth quarter that we're gonna blow.
They might need a point guard.
They do. They need somebody who can facilitate a little bit. This is, again, where it comes back to the Kemba Walker thing. In a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with Kemba Walker if that's the kind of player you want on your team. If you don't have other scorers and you need the offense to flow from that position, that's fine. That's not what this team needs. And so that's kind of the problem. You'd be better off with a guy who could, and again, this is where Smart again plays and plays well here, because it's a guy who can defend and who can distribute the ball. His playmaking is totally missed right now, and you end up a lot of ISO ball and you get a lot of contested jumpers. I don't know what got into Jaylen at the beginning of this game. He shot 11 times before someone else shot 3. So I maybe it was the only total 11 shots he got last game and he wanted to get it back. But when you talk about late in the game execution, Jimmy, when Tatum missed those 2 free throws, obviously he gets the ball. Pels have a foul to give, and that they can foul there if you don't get a shot off quickly. I don't know if this was Stevens or this was Brad, but when you give the guy the ball 45 feet away from the basket and ISO him and get him to start dribbling, you are just handing the other team an opportunity to foul you away from the basket. That can't be the play you run in that situation.
That's a great point.
When the team has a foul to give. I couldn't believe that. That's such a bailout. You've got to work the ball. The guy who gets it's got to be able to catch and shoot. You can't start to dribble going sideways.
Yeah,
40
you have
feet
to
basket.
You have to scare them that they could be fouling right into the shot.
So even if you want it in his hand, he's got to get that coming off a screen and maybe get one dribble and up. He can't start to set up and break down a guy. On that play, I was screaming at that. And again, I don't know if that was the design or Tatum just slowed down, but you got to know in that situation, that's the ball game. They're going to foul you. You're out of timeouts after this. You can't get that back.
Yeah, you've been frustrated with those play calls all year in big moments. And like right back to opening night, the Tatum one that actually worked. So we've seen that. I talked a lot about like the movement and cutting and involvement of the other players off the ball. Neesmith in particular, who's getting more minutes now and probably needs to find drawn ways to get involved so he's not just jacking up shots off the catch. There are coaching problems here. Let's be real.
Right.
It's not a fire Brad situation. I always have to throw that out there because that's what's floating in the chat. But he's not beyond criticism, and he has been involved.
Bobby wants to fire Brad.
No, at this point, you have to acknowledge what's going wrong from a coaching standpoint as well. This just doesn't look like a Celtics team from years past. The reason we love Stevens. This doesn't even look like a Stevens offense. And some of that's personnel, which is why I don't want to fire him because you got to fix the team first. But I'm just terrified that at what point, if they can't get the personnel they need, do they blame it on the coaching staff? Because it's just so easy to do that in this league. I think that would be a disaster, but I don't think they're beyond criticism, certainly.
No, that one really irked me. Again,
that's a good point, John. It was like Stevens wanted them to foul.
It was
that's what it was.
It was I couldn't believe that. So in between the Rob stuff and that, again, I thought that this and just not stopping the bleeding. Again, you got a 24-point lead. You got a pretty big margin for error there to see how stuff is going. If it's in the fourth quarter and you start to lose that lead, which has happened a few times, it happened against Atlanta. You got a 20-something lead whittled down to 14 or so, and there's 6 minutes left, and you've got a group out there. You can kind of be like, we're going to win this one because we're going to run out the clock. But when you start to see that happen in the third quarter, you can adjust a lot of ways. You can't just stay with what you're doing and say, well, this is my rotation, and then just ride it out. You got to figure something out. You got to adjust. I think double big hurt them there in that third. And then, so that was one thing is you lose a big lead like that. I think Brad has a lot of opportunities to stop the bleeding, and it's not just calling timeouts. Just adjust to what's happening right there before it gets to where it got to. The Rob thing and that thing late. Those are three criticisms I have of in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, Bobby, you were smiling.
I'm just watching the chat float by. I'm amused.
Yeah.
I'm getting caught. Normally I have it off, but today's one of those days.
It must be really bad. John's not putting a lot up. It must be really
it's not, but you know what? It's the same stuff. It's a lot of, Kemba sucks, Brad sucks. But I mean, I think a lot of people here are kind of jiving with a lot of our points here. The stagnation on the offense, and again, Jimmy, you and I, Crouching Tiger here puts up this point. You and I were ready to go in on this before he made those last 2 shots in overtime. I thought Tatum did start. While he was dependable for a while, he does get into those situations where he really kills the offense with these isolations and taking contested shots. That the team is, I don't care if you're Jayson Tatum. The other team wants you to do that. The Pelicans want Jayson Tatum to take as many contested twos as possible. It's almost the equivalent of when you have you're going to let Russell Westbrook take an open 3. You want Jayson Tatum to take contested twos all game, fallaways, if you can. If that's what he's doing, you'll live with it because he's only going to make 38 to 39% of them, and that's fine. You'll take that trade every single time.
It's almost like they're baiting him a little bit. Like, yeah, come on in, come inside the 3-point line. But Jayson Tatum, he doesn't finish the drive. He'll stop, he'll step back, he'll fade away. And then I believe he had an offensive foul today when he had John's guy Neesmith standing in the corner wide open. I'm pretty sure Tatum looked directly in his eyes and said no and decided to, force it to the hoop where he got called for an offensive foul. So, yeah, I was a little perturbed by some of his decision-making and shot selection. And again,
the offense just looks gross.
The offense looks gross.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like, why can't Tatum ever get off the ball? Is it the personnel, the fact that they don't have point guards to make the ball pop, as Steven says? That's why they like Pritchard so much early in the year, because the ball popped, it moved. Other guys got to the middle off cuts. So maybe they're not playing Pritchard enough either, but I've noticed definitely within the last 3 weeks.
Jayson takes too long, Bobby. When he gets into those moments, he takes so long to set up his defender. It just halts everything, and it's just an absolute killer on the offense. He's much better when he's decisive. If he does get the ball, he's got to do something with it quick, or it's got to move, and it just doesn't. Too many times it doesn't. It just dies with him.
Yeah, we had that conversation on Friday too about Tatum and Brown as lead ball handlers on the team and the limitations of that. And we're seeing it now in a loss more specifically, more profoundly. You see those issues and the stoppage of the ball on those two. And I give Brown a little more credence because he's in year 1 of this. But
and he's aggressive. He at least he tries to go to the basket a bit.
He had 9 assists today.
And he had 9 assists. Yep.
So overall, I think it was a strong performance from him, especially in the first half. But Tatum now, we're talking 2 years of this being his offense on the ball. So it needs to be better. There needs to be fewer miscues, turnovers, that kind of stuff. It's got to be a little more smooth because, we can funnel more minutes toward Pritchard. You can bring in another point guard. But ideally, come playoff time, this is the formula they're going to follow. Tatum on the ball almost all game because of the gravity that draws. So he needs to evolve to another level in that role. Brown as well. Because, I floated around the idea last week of a Collins trade. And the part I didn't get deep enough into with that is a guy we talked about over the offseason, Rajon Rondo, who is basically a no-show in Atlanta right now. His back's been hurting. He's just kind of out of the fold. Signed for 2 years, cheap money. I don't know how much he has left as a player, but as a voice, as a facilitator, as a ball mover, he was a huge part of that Lakers championship last year, probably taking a little break off the short turnaround off that. I mean, that's another reason I really like the idea of that trade. And again, the one I floated out there sent Marcus Smart out, who is a guy that gets the ball popping, who is a shot maker who's way younger than Rondo, has a lot more to give, defense, all that stuff. But I guess they're just going to be patient now, see what Smart has left to offer in that role. But I think that's a possible idea, along with Collins, who I advocated heavily for. Yep. So just one idea, but they definitely need a point guard now.
I don't hate that trade, Bob. I don't hate that trade. I think it actually makes sense for both sides.
Teams. I mean, both sides smile there walking away.
Give it to me one more time.
Rondo and Collins for Marcus Smart. No picks, just even swap.
I mean, you might need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe there are picks involved, but the players make sense to me, because if you're the Hawks, you probably like the idea of Marcus Smart and Trae Young, back, the tandem there, because what Trae Young and Marcus Smart give you are almost like polar opposites at points, right? I mean, obviously Smart's still going to hoist threes like Trae Young, but Trae Young will actually hit them. So maybe Marcus.
I don't know what Rondo has left, though. That's my big question.
Well,
if he's just going to sit on the bench.
He gives you leadership. He gives you a guy he's very smart. He's a smart basketball player. I think he's going to be a future coach for sure. But you're right. In terms of production, I mean, this could be another almost like a Teague. He's not like Teague, but it could be a situation where people don't want to see him out there in place of, somebody else. So I think what he gives you is more of like that value of like a player coach type of a thing. So I don't know if losing Smart is the idea there, but Collins is the talent that you're getting back.
You get the feeling Smart's got to go at some point if you're going to upgrade elsewhere.
Well, he's the only one who can.
Eventually, though, it's right. It seems like there's no way he can be part of the future. So if you can get return on him, it might hurt. It might hurt you. But if it's a ticket to something that's going to help you down the line, because it doesn't seem like that's going to be, a guy.
There's two things there. He's hurt right now. It's going to take him a little while to get back to full strength. We just saw with OG Anunoby, who's not playing back-to-backs yet and missed 10 games originally with a calf tear. It takes well over a month, it appears, to get back to full strength. So Stevens announced today we're not going to see him till after the break. Yeah. After next season, he's a free agent. So that's why I floated that out there.
I think that trade hurts you more than it helps you, Bobby.
Yeah.
The thing is, do you want Collins? That's what it comes down. They're not going to make that trade.
It does. But so, yeah, you're right, Jimmy. I guess that's the point of that one would be you would do that if you thought you were going to sign Collins long term.
Yeah, you trade 1 year for 5 years or whatever it would be, 4 or 5 years. So
easy, yeah. I mean, you would do that, but again, I just don't know if I don't know what they think of Collins. So it depends on which game you watched last week, I guess.
My big question there is, what's Rondo have left? Because we haven't seen it in Atlanta. It's just been the bum back and him sitting down.
Not much left.
For a team with spacing issues and can't shoot right now, I just don't know. I don't know.
What Rondo's value is that he's a killer, and he can give these guys maybe a little kick in their ass, and he can give them some
So
leadership.
can Smart.
Agree, but okay. Well, why isn't he then? I don't know. He's still on the team. Team.
I don't understand this because again, we were talking about it when he got hurt. That 2 to 3 seemed ridiculously optimistic, and the report now today he's out till after the All-Star break. I mean,
yeah,
this was a significant injury. I mean, this, like I said, this felt like a 6 to 8 week, not a 2 to 3. So they got to live with this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, last he talked, he said he was at 40%.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be some time, well after the All-Star break.
Celtics rarely do they tell you exactly what's going on.
I mean, imagine. So that night we were in agony because we were thinking worst case scenario. Imagine if it did go in that direction. So then he's gone. No hope of coming back for like a full calendar year, and then no trade value. I mean, that would have been the final bullet in the Celtics experiment probably. So, I mean, a lot of people don't want to see him go, but just think of how close he was to being completely out of the picture here for the foreseeable future.
So moving off this game, because this was frustrating as hell.
I was just going to say that.
When is the All-Star stuff coming out?
Like the reserves? I'm guessing it'd be the midweek this week, right? Because it's like 2 weeks away. It can't be too far away.
Yeah. So this is my heel turn of many on this show, but I'm gonna say it right now. I desperately want Jayson Tatum to not make the All-Star team. In fact, I would love it if they both didn't make it, but they both probably will. But
wait. What do you mean? Why? First of all, Jaylen Brown's obviously gonna make the team.
I want.
Why don't you want them to make it?
Tuesday's their announcement.
I want.
You think they don't deserve to?
I want hungry. I want angry. I want to go get it. I don't want we're in the awesome players club thing with these guys this early in their. I want to see something more. I want to light a fire under Tatum. I hope he gets snubbed.
Honestly, Brown is a shoo-in, but I said this a couple weeks ago. If Tatum didn't make the All-Star game, I wouldn't be completely stunned. I would be surprised. I think he's played well enough to be on the team, and he's obviously a stud, but he did miss some time. The Celtics are kind of floundering here a little bit, and it's up to the coaches, right? I mean,
Doc Rivers, baby.
I think he makes the team. So, but I understand what John's saying too. Is like these guys, honestly, the way things are going right now, they don't deserve to have a fun weekend. Right now, they should be either resting or working and practicing and figuring out what the hell's going on. That's that's like a boomer take right there.
What's wrong with this team?
Yeah.
To throw it back to last weekend.
But Brown for sure. He definitely, I mean, you could make the case. The case that he should start, but yeah. I'm fine with him just, being on the team and all that stuff. But again, I think it's stupid that they're even having the game with everything going on right now. Cramming games in, COVID, everything going on. Can we just have these guys rest a little bit? Can they get some freaking rest?
Yeah, that's absurd. And now you're seeing like the club events roll out for that week, even though the mayor said don't come here. There's still like every club's having their big all-star event. I'm looking at the list of guys here. It's tough to imagine Tatum getting snubbed. I know Randall's been better than him. Middleton and him have probably been equal class as they've been, and there's no way Middleton would snub Tatum outright. I can't think of another guy in terms of forwards in the East who would outdo Tatum there. The East just
Sabonis.
Can you see Sabonis? I mean,
guy.
Tatum
is Doc Rivers going to pick Sabonis over Tatum?
Could easily be left off this team. I don't think Brown can.
For Sabonis?
Brown will not be left off the team. We'll stop talking about that.
I think it's possible.
It's not possible. Brown's not going to be left off the team.
No way. I mean, he was media voted like top 5.
Well,
yeah, that's 5 guards.
No, top 5 period.
Okay, how about this? Brown or Tatum? If you had to pick one, it's Brown, right?
Oh, yeah. He was the 5th guard. He was second.
Well, they're being classified differently. That's weird.
He was the 5th guard among players. I
thought he was top 5 in the voting period.
The players voted him as the 5th best guard in the East. That means there's guys in front of him who could make it.
Well, that's why Irving ended up starting.
So yeah, you're also thinking of Ben Simmons.
Van Vliet. Yeah,
I don't think Van Fleet will make it, but Jeremy Grant could.
So
Jeremy Grant's a real threat.
Trae Young and Simmons are bubble stars right now.
Trae Young's got to make it.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, in Atlanta, he's got to.
That's a really good point in Atlanta. But I think Van Fleet, the way he sort of put the Raptors on his back here a little bit, turned their season around. I think he would be a great dark horse, guy to make the All-Star game.
Look at it this way. You're going to take, look, at the end of the day, you've got, you've got what? You've got 7 reserve spots, right? It's just 12?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, from a forward percentage, I think Randall, you got Randall's
Middleton. A lock.
Randall's a lock. Middleton, I think Zach LaVine makes it. I think Van Fleet makes it. I think Harden makes it. Tatum and Brown certainly, I think, are leading the charge to make it. But you can make a case for Trae Young. Bam isn't on. Bam Adebayo, Ben Simmons, Sabonis, Jeremy Grant. Are you telling me it would be shocking if a couple of those guys snuck in past them? I wouldn't be shocked.
The star power is the thing there.
I would be shocked if Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, is an Atlanta native, didn't make the team.
Yeah, he feels like a lock. I'd put him in over Van Vliet.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked. If Tatum didn't make it, and I'm kind of with John. I wouldn't be upset. I think it would light a little bit of a fire because maybe there are some games where Tatum says, you know what, maybe if I did put a little bit more effort in, or didn't coast here, or got back on defense here, or didn't complain to the referee so damn much on the opposite end of the court, maybe I'm in the game this weekend. So I don't know how it's going to shake out. there are a lot of guys deserving of a nod. So it's a tough decision. I heard that Bobby, not Jimmy, voted Hart in over both Tatum and Brown based on for sure. I wouldn't doubt that. A little media vote. Don't give Bobby a media vote. He's gonna vote all defense team.
It'd just be it'd be Tice versus the West.
All right, Tice wasn't as good tonight. I'll give it to you. I think Young's a lock. I think Harden's a lock, and
Harden's the one who screwed this whole thing up.
Then it comes down. Yeah, you're right. And then it comes down to Brown, Simmons. I think at that last guard spot.
Simmons is playing well recently, but I think it's Jaylen Brown over the course of this season so far. For me, I would take over Simmons, but Simmons has really come on.
Could you see Van Fleet getting in over Brown too? Like, I feel like Brown just has more star power. The Atlantic connection you talk about there. I don't know.
His star power is on the rise. I'm telling you, like the way he's played recently, people are starting to take notice.
Yeah,
but again,
I did find it telling that the media voted Brown number 2, and the players voted him 5. So the players are looking around thinking Trae Young's got more skills than this guy.
Who was 3 and 4? Because I know Kyrie was 2. I forget now.
Hold on.
Oh, Harden, right?
Yeah,
Harden 3.
Yeah, see, the Harden thing throws a wrench in this whole freaking thing because you got to think what Harden did. To me, I don't want to see Harden, benefit from the way he went about doing this, but you can't argue the way he's played. So it's a tough situation.
I think Kyrie. I get the whole Kyrie starting thing because of the vote and the popularity and all that, but he would have been a guy if we were just looking at merit, who would have been a borderline candidate with the amount of time he missed.
Who?
And now he's the shoe-in, Kyrie.
Kyrie, yeah. I mean, Kyrie on the the player rank for guards was Beal 1, Kyrie 2, and Kyrie got 4 on the medium ranking. And Brown was the 5th. Like I said, Brown was the 5th guard.
Who was 3 and 4?
Harden, and then I think Trae Young.
Okay.
And Zach LaVine, you can't ignore either.
No, you can't. Awesome. He's absolutely in.
Yeah, he's a lock.
It's gonna be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So wait.
So you're right. I mean, what we get back to here is there's a real chance both could miss it.
Rivers picks the whole team?
Yeah, and his staff.
Really? I thought it was a
top team in the East.
Collective vote for some reason. I'm not thinking, I guess. But
no, that's for the starters.
The starters, gotcha. Okay. Wow. That is a. I wonder if Brad Stevens will be pitching his guy. I'm sure all the coaches do that, right? They send their pitches on why their guy should be on the team, unless Brad doesn't want them to be on the team.
Let's see. That'll be another thing that Brad needs to do to save his job. Get them in with this handwritten note.
Well, at least we're not going to have 75 minutes for Kemba. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, not great looking back on it. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Like in one calendar year, he went from lock all-star, no discussion, to not even in the picture. Well, that's just unbelievable looking back on it, which does bring me to that Terry Rozier game winner last night. Stacking up 20-point performances.
Was 4th, Trae Young was 6th on the guards.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And again, would it be for real? Would it be shocking if you look at the guards for Jaylen? Everyone thinks he's such a lock. Beal, Irving, Harden, Zach LaVine, Trae Young are 5 guards. Okay, Irving and Beal are already in. Would it be shocking if Harden, LaVine, and Trae Young made it over Brown? Absolutely not. I think Brown makes it, but it wouldn't be shocking. And that's not even counting Van Fleet and Simmons. It's a stacked position. It's also so bizarre to me that he's in as a guard.
Yeah. That's stupid. He should be in the. Oh, and Simmons is a guard too, which is kind of ridiculous.
I know. Doc can take whoever he wants. He doesn't have to take a certain amount of guards and a certain amount of forwards. Correct?
You know, we forgot. If Doc's picking, doesn't that mean Harris and Simmons are in?
No, Harris isn't going to make it the team.
Well, at least Simmons.
That's a good point, though.
You would think Simmons gets it because he's mentally weak, and Doc has to put him in there, or else he'll break his brain. So I think Simmons will make it. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Shocked if he doesn't make it.
And he's got to really think about Harris too. I mean, I know it'd be a tougher sell, but
that would be
Harris
a tough
will not make the team.
There was one year I think Mike Milbury. We were switching to hockey. Picked Chris Nyland as an all-star. And the world lost its mind. He was just basically some goon that he thought, let's give him a shot.
Just in case, yeah.
You can't play that. No, it's just like you can't You can't do that.
I think
all right.
Doc will.
No, it's a full coaches vote actually. All right, so it's not
Thank
all
you.
Doc. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we won't get a
I'm
Simmons
talking
Harris
to him
shoe
for the
in.
last 10 minutes of us thinking that Doc had all the power here.
Yeah, all the coaches vote.
Okay, that makes so much more freaking sense.
Yeah, then we would have had a Simmons Harris team. But
yeah, so Harris is out.
Back to the original
Simmons
point.
is probably out.
They both could miss. They both could. I don't
And
see. You know
and
what's
then I want
actually
him to come
interesting?
back mad. And
Now, the way we pictured it now, actually,
They
Brown
should be
probably has
mad
a better
already.
chance of missing it than Tatum.
No.
it's really tough, right?
Because Tatum's more of a shoo-in as a star name, and his position's a little easier.
It wouldn't be shocking. You know, that's why I was saying I was kind of making fun of people like, oh my God, the injustice and disrespect of the Celtics, you know, fifth in the voting. I'm like, that's a really good position grouping there. You know,
Your winning matters too, and they're 500.
Yeah. And right. Well, if you see guys, right. The winning does, I mean, it's not going to help Zach LaVine's cause. And obviously it
It's
didn't
going to help the
Bradley Beal.
Hawks.
Yeah. It's not going to, and Trae
Well,
Young. But yeah, I just want him motivated. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
You just want to let Celtics fans know that there's a real chance that these two guys, or at least one of these two guys, may not be heading to Atlanta for the All-Star game.
When people drift off into automatic superstar land, I don't like the direction that goes. You know, that's where you get colluding, forming super teams and this and that. You want your guys to stay a little bit humble, have them fight for it. As soon as you get like that free pass, you know, $200 pass, go to the All-Star game every year, and then you go there and you hang out with everybody, then you're not. Then when you see these guys, you're shaking hands at midcourt, then you're laughing after losses. I hate that. I hate the buddy thing. And when you're in that club, then you're there forever, and it's all you care about. That becomes the thing in the NBA. It's like, who's in the club? If those guys can stay out of it a little, I want the accolades. I would much rather they get voted like all AP, you know, all first team at the end of the year, second team at the end of the year, than get into that all-star rotation where they're just going and they're buddies and all of that stuff. Be the outliers. Be the guys who are hungry, who don't give a crap about that stuff.
Well, I hope that is the case, but they don't look hungry right now. At least recently. I mean, Jaylen Brown says and has all the right intentions, I think, but you just don't see it translate. You're not seeing it translate the way you want it to on the basketball court right now. So, I would be interested. I mean, if these guys, to answer your question or to piggyback what you said, John, these guys should already be angry. It shouldn't even matter if they become all-stars. That's the problem.
Yeah, be angry.
They should be angry already. And that should be the cherry on top if they don't make the All-Star team. But
maybe they honestly, are, maybe they're not.
They have nobody to blame but themselves if that's the case, because the way the season started off, everyone was like, wow, these two guys are coming out gangbusters, and Jaylen Brown's playing like, you know, a top 5 or 10 player in the NBA right now. And obviously that was going to slow down a little bit. Nobody expected it to remain at that clip. But there's no reason for this Celtics team to be, you know, 500. And the fact that they are allows us to have this conversation on whether or not these two guys will be in the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's the biggest role in it. We wouldn't be having any discussion at all if they were where they need to be as a team record-wise. I think the results and stats and standing in the league would speak for itself, and they'd just have a shoe-in. So it is more of a real possibility because of where the team is at. That's 100% true. So I never cared all that much about the All-Star stuff. I'm more of an All-NBA guy at the end of the year too. So if they missed it, I wouldn't be freaking out. Even though I think Brown in particular has had such a hot start, a deserved top 5 fit in this whole picture. I know as the media voted as a whole, for him to be outright snubbed, I think would even be less deserving than Tatum of a snub. So the fact that he's in a better position probably to be snubbed isn't right to me. You know, I think the Kyrie dynamic screws all that up a little bit. That irks me, how there's always kind of that one shoe-in starter who maybe doesn't deserve to make the game as a whole.
Right. We were supposed to eliminate that.
We saw it with Kobe and Wade, remember? And those kind of things during those years. Dirk made it. Yeah. Taco Fall's in the top 10 of voting. If he actually had more of a case, he'd be in the game.
Yeah. Well, we're approaching the hour mark. We promised to get Jimmy out of here. So, Jimmy, go ahead. Make your final point. We'll move on here.
Well, no, it's not like a final point. It's just we haven't one guard we didn't mention that I know Bobby wanted to talk about.
Terry Rozier.
Yes. Take
Go
it away,
ahead, Bob. You have the floor.
It's like a fun hypothetical. I threw out a trade earlier, and now that we're talking to Kemba's decline and the deterioration of his knee, they had a chance as a team, 2 big inflection points, to keep an extra Brooklyn pick, which I think we all agree it was a good thing they didn't do. Even the Kyrie thing, it didn't go the way it was supposed to. You probably still go back and do that deal given what they gave up there. Colin Sexton's been good, but I think the Kyrie experiment was worth it. Terry Rozier, that's a legit second guess given how
it's amazing how well he's shooting in the 2 years since he left here. You could not have had a worse
50% from the field this year is crazy.
50 from the field for a guard, 46 from 3. It's unreal.
Did you guys see the highlights from last night's game? It wasn't just the game winner. He had 20 points in the fourth quarter, and with that being the capper. I mean, I watched every single shot he hit in that fourth quarter, and they were unbelievable. This Charlotte team, led by Rozier and your buddy Gordon, and hand up. Another apology that I won't make because I never said on the show, but I did not believe in LaMelo Ball. I did not believe that kid was anything not but like smoke and mirrors. But he is playing his freaking heart out, and he is he's going to be rookie of the year, I think, or right up there. Wiseman and him and whoever else. But that team's fun. And Rozier, all credit to him, man. He knew that he was going to have a better opportunity on another team, and he bettered himself too, much like a lot of these players do. And he is totally dominating right now. I mean, really. We're not even talking about him in the All-Star game, but I mean, he's about as fun as they come to watch. I mean, he should probably get a little bit more discussion. I know he's not going to, but he's approaching that territory.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think about how it would have progressed if he stayed here, because wasn't the thinking of keeping him around as all the other guards were in the fold there that he's going to be the Kyrie insurance?
It was selling out on Kyrie. It was just that ridiculous pipe dream, this stupid Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving pair up pipe dream that paralyzed their thinking for those 2 years. It just paralyzed. It was all about that.
They didn't make a single move in 19 when they clearly needed to.
We got to hold on to everything because we're going to put it all into one big trade offer, and this is going to be the last thing we do. And it didn't friggin' happen, and you let all of it just go to crap there. That was the problem.
AD was like, "Yo, Kyrie, what do you think?" And Kyrie's like, "Yo, I'm out, man. Don't come here."
That killed them. Just paralysis over this pipe dream that Anthony Davis was going to be a Celtic.
We saw this Rozier too during that 18 run, and he still gets so much flack for the result in the end of falling short of the finals, but he did so much to get there, and his game 6 gets forgotten against Cleveland in the East Finals, where the offense was completely stagnant all game long, and he was just hitting pull-up after pull-up. I think he had 26 or 28 in that game, and they were pretty close to taking the series in Cleveland in that game 6. He had a bad game 7 that sticks in people's minds more. But I look back at his years here, they were consistently a 104 to 108 defensive rating with him on the floor. He was a sound defender at that point guard spot, a dribble facilitator. I think the issue with him here now, if he was instead of Kemba, is that he's limited as a playmaker too.
He's not a playmaker at all. He would drive us crazy. Right now, he's shooting better than Kemba, but you're asking for the same thing. You're right. He defends better, Bobby. This Terry Rozier is not the type of player you want on this offense either, because it's another guy who's just going to be taking shots away and doing his own thing. Too many individual players right now. That's the problem.
Taking shots away from guys who are shots.
Yeah. My final assessment on it, though, I think Kemba was worth it for that first year because I think they could have won a championship with that core. Rozier kind of in Kemba's place there year 1, but year 2 through 4.
Oh, you mean last year?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So year 2 through 4, though, when we talk about Kemba's health, it's almost a no-brainer that you'd swap out Kemba now for Rozier.
No brainer now. At that point, here's the thing. The reason I don't like the revisionist history on the Celtics stuff is because there's not a single person that thought the Kyrie trade was a bad trade bringing him here. Jimmy, you were actually moderately skeptical, more so than most people, just because you knew what kind of a weirdo he was. And I do think that was underplayed in the early days of Kyrie. It's such common knowledge now. everyone I talked to and people I know in Cleveland who covered.
I didn't like they never made the
they were
playoffs
like,
without
"You have
LeBron.
no idea what this guy's like. He listens to everything. He gets really weird. He's got an entourage that tells him what everybody says. He freezes people out. He's got the thinnest skin. He's a total kook. Like he is not going to survive in Boston." That was the vibe, like, coming in.
And think of it like this.
It was like, oh, he's a little quirky, but everyone was like, no, he's nuts. Like, he's absolutely nuts, and he's going to lose his mind in Boston. And, you know, we heard that, but it wasn't talked about enough. But nobody wanted to not do that at the time. And nobody thought Rozier was a keeper after his last year here in Boston. It made sense that he was going to move on. The knock on it was that Ainge should have done something about it earlier and gotten something for him, and he never did. So
he was an underrated part of that 19 disaster, too, because he wasn't happy about being on the bench.
And he wanted to shoot every time he got out there.
Yeah, whenever he came off the bench, he had a bad game.
It looked like him and it looked like Rozier and Kyrie were not really buddies either. I mean, even didn't Kyrie allude to the fact like there was like competition going on between the two, like in one of his weird press conferences he had. So it just felt like Rozier. Everyone kind of knew Rozier was gone, and maybe we were all too quick to just accept it because, you know, he's doing his thing and the Celtics are struggling to score at points now. And yeah, I know what you're saying, John, is if he was in the Celtics, he would drive everybody crazy because he would take shots away from Jaylen and Jayson. Well, it's like, all right, well, be ready to completely ride or die with those two guys. Because you're now like letting good players go because you're all in on these two guys. So they better be the two guys because a lot of players are coming and going and they're staying. A lot of really good players. So yeah, I guess we'll find out.
I say we tank for Trevor Lawrence. What do you say?
I'm down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, Bill won't. Maybe Brad will.
Do it, Brad. All right.
Can't punt the season, though.
Let's wrap it up. When's our next one?
So there was questions on if it was going to happen because of the Texas situation, but it looks like the Mavericks going to play the Grizzlies tomorrow. So like Mavericks Celtics. Yeah, Mavericks Celtics is probably on for Tuesday.
They can play outside now.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. They had a couple games postponed, though.
Yeah, they did. All right. Want to tell you Marigold Medical here, marigoldmedical.com.
It's going to be ugly if they don't defend.
Bobby, I'm doing my read, buddy. Doing my ads here.
Let me get through this.
marigoldmedical.com or 978-537-0555. If you got something ailing you, call these guys. You get a free consult if you tell them Cedric Maxwell sent you. It's stem cell therapy. Their goal here is to make you better long term. This is not a quick fix solution. As we said, Cedric Maxwell went there, got a shot in his knee, life-changing experience for him. So as we said, go to the website there as you see it on the screen or call 978-537-0555. Is it Tuesday, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, 7:30 Tuesday, Luca and company.
Tuesday, 7:30. Then I'm off for a couple. We'll see you guys. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The crowd.
The
crowd's gonna miss you.
Yeah, we'll get
Boomer Rage taking over your spot.
Yeah, we'll get some Boomer Rage, full scale Boomer Rage on Wednesday and Friday. We think.
Wow. Okay, That's the second night of it. Wednesday's the second night of a back-to-back, so we could be full Boomer Rage that night.
Full Boomer Rage.
Who's Wednesday?
Ooh, Wednesday is, drum roll please.
Pacers.
Oh, our good friend
Hawks
the Atlanta
again.
Hawks again.
Great. It's a big cycle with this team.
Yeah.
We're going to have another meltdown a week later on Wednesday.
We talked about it briefly. Happy with the Naismith stuff. I'm hoping we see more of it. One of these days, Rob Williams is going to start, and we're all going to be happy. But we'll see if that happens. To everyone watching, thank you again. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, and you'll get notified, Jimmy, yeah?
No, I was just waving by and saying thanks. Yep.
Yeah. Please do so. Tell your friends. We like having you. We had up around 1,000 in here tonight, all at various times, which is great. But we want that number to grow, so we want you guys to keep coming. Tell people about it. Join the show. Join the stream. We love you in the chats, even if you're trolling us. Totally fine. I know you guys miss Joe Sway. We miss him too. Last second situation. It's not a Wi-Fi emergency. It's not a health emergency. He had other obligations, and Joe Sway is indeed the GOAT. So he'll be back next week as well. So we'll see you guys. Where are my wreath? My white wreath. I'm in the office right now. I got plants.
This is the office, the home office, huh?
This
I
is
got the
home office.
Horford jersey. That's a popular choice for TPE right now.
This is the
So
home office.
that could be put back into use.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's it. Yeah, Josue got 2 texts and we tossed him. And that's it. We will wrap it up. Thanks.
JJ Redick getting ejected. We didn't even talk about that. What a goofy thing.
We did a little with the refs being whatever. But again, good night all.